we had Victoria's blessing. She's totally with us behind the scenes. She has to approve everything. We want her to love everything as much as we do when we're going out there. Exactly. And we hope that she'll be back on stage at some point.
Is that the dream?
That's the dream. That's the plan.
Do you know what it will take to make that a reality? Hello, beautiful human. Thanks for clicking or tapping on our conversation with SportySpice. I cannot believe this is happening. Mel C going to be in our studio. Spice is life for me, so we have a lot to discuss, plus 25 years of the Spice Girls. I want to talk about their past, their present, and their future. Plus, Mel C does her own music, too, so we have a lot to get to. And I ask you to leave your honest feedback on the conversation in the comment section below. Hit like on our video, share our channel with those you care about, and please subscribe. Please give us that love. And beautiful human, we all love a great deal, don't we? I know I do. Like savings, markdowns, and lunch specials. But when it comes to car insurance, you should know that the right place to go is an easy choice. I'm talking about State Farm. State Farm offers surprisingly great rates for your ride. Your friends don't have to have a special connection or even call in a favor. State Farm has options for everyone, like insuring your ride and your home, getting you great rates on both. Why are these such surprisingly great rates? It's what you get from them. Coverage that meets your needs, because insurance shouldn't put a hole in your wallet. Those are some good neighbors, and they're always in your corner. No promo codes, no waiting around for holiday deals, and no sales section. State Farm fits your life at a price that fits your budget. So when your friends ask where you go for surprisingly great rates, tell them State Farm, because like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today. And please, enjoy our conversation with Mel C. She has a lot to say.
Let's do this. Zach Show.
Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That is Dan, and we welcome to the studio Mel C.
Woo!
SportySpice, is that even a title you go by? Like if somebody yells that to you, will you stop? Or are you real name only?
Okay, you know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because I kind of have all of these titles that people know me by. And I think the interesting thing about the Spice Girls nicknames is that here in the US, people know us so much better by our nicknames.
Totally.
Yeah.
In fact, some of us people are like, what's her name again?
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But when I told everybody you were coming on,
Which one is that?
I needed to make it clear.
Yeah.
SportySpice.
Yeah, which is cool because it's not, we didn't present ourselves as these people, as these names originally. It was a magazine, Top of the Pops magazine. It was a huge show in the UK, and they have a magazine, and they gave us these nicknames, and they just completely stuck. And we loved it. And I think the great thing about being a Spice Girl, obviously, we really celebrate our individuality. And this almost enabled us to have these caricatures of ourselves, and we just really played up to it.
By the way, we were talking before about this show has been home to so many incredible artists. And quite frankly, they're artists that are walking on a path that you and those girls who made up the Spice Girls really created and allowed them to walk down. And I mean that in so many different ways. One, obviously in pop and discovering sounds and hooks, etc. But primarily when it comes to female empowerment and saying something that was never said before. Is that accurate? Like, obviously there was so much more to the Spice Girls, but there was something to owning your individual self and owning the fact that you're a female. But then, like, it obviously got bigger to the point where I'm not a female, but I was empowered to just be myself.
Yeah, totally. It was like this evolution. When we started, we wanted to be a pop group. You know, we wanted to make music, we wanted to travel, we wanted to get on stage, we wanted to be famous. You know, we had all these, like, dreams, all of us from being kids. And then when we had this opportunity and we started to enter this world of the music industry, really quickly, we were being told that girl bands don't sell. You know, it's all about boy bands. And we were like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And we just felt quite quickly we had a point to prove. You know, we had a little bit of a mission we needed to get upon. And that's when we started screaming about girl power. And it's, you know what, we feel like in the 90s, it was like feminism, but we made it more palatable for younger people to understand.
100%.
You know, it's like we kind of made it more mainstream. And it wasn't something we all sat down, we've got this cunning plan. We just had these experiences and we were like, F that. We want to go and show everybody that they're wrong. We wanted to be a girl band for girls. And quite quickly, we realised we had a huge following in the LGBTQ plus community. So then it became more than that, and this beauty of us being so different to each other, not only in the way we looked, the way we presented ourselves, our personalities, but coming together and having this strength was just something that spoke to so many people. So we just feel really lucky because it was almost an accident that we had this opportunity to do something really important.
And that is 100% accurate when you say accident, because in doing a bunch of research on the history of the Spice Girls and your history as an artist, because you obviously go on to do a bunch of your own music, and it's all very close together. Like, there's no real downtime. Like, you really are creating. But you guys, you answer an ad. Hundreds of girls also answer the same ad. They find y'all, and you leave this management company pretty quickly. Yeah. Because to what you said, you realize that they're forcing you into something that is not accurate and not who you are and not what the people want.
Yeah, you know what? For us, it was just very instinctive. And I think there was a few lineup changes. I wasn't in the original lineup of the girl band that was auditioned. Wow. It's funny because people talk about, the Spice Girl or the Spice Girl that could have been in the band. And it's like, no. The Spice Girls didn't begin until the final member, who we all know, became part of the band, because that's when the dynamic and the energy
actually happened.
It just went boom, yeah. And we were like, okay, we've got something really special here. And that's when we found this strength that we thought, you know what, these guys have been wonderful. We can't take anything away from the original management because they had this vision. They found us and they put us together. But we were like, we don't really like, the road they're taking us down. And it's so funny because I think we were with them for less than a year.
Yeah, but you don't even release an album with them, right?
No, we did nothing with them. We rehearsed, we did choreo, we did vocal coaching.
Really training camp.
We were in a training camp, yeah. And, in those days, it was all behind the scenes. So you were able to do all of this in private, whereas now these are TV shows and all over social media, So we had that opportunity. And then we were pretty naughty, come to think of it. I mean, we've rebuilt all of these relationships, We're still very friendly with our original management, and a lot of water's gone under the bridge. But we got them into doing or paying for a showcase, basically, because we were frustrated. We were like, within a few months, we were like, we want to be out there, we want to be doing stuff. And they were like, whoa, you need a little bit of time, you need to develop. And we were like, no, we've had enough time. We want to get out there. So we did this showcase and we met writers and producers and publishers, and then we'd already planned our exit.
Whoa. That's goosebumps. Whose idea was it to leave?
I think it was collective, but, Melanie B, Scary Spice, Jerry Halliwell, Horner now, Ginger Spice, are probably the biggest characters in the band. Together we are super strong and we all have our different qualities. But I think, if Jerry and Melanie had an idea and the rest of us were on board, then it flew, and I think that's probably how that all started.
Do you think what life would have been like if you didn't take that risk and leave that management company? Because without being forced on your own, maybe your music wouldn't have been as reflective of the reality that you all share.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of don't even like thinking of what would have happened, if all the roads you take in your life, you find these crossroads, don't you? And you think, wow, if I'd have gone that way, where would I be right now? So really grateful that what happened.
But is there a through line here of listening to your inner self?
Yeah, I think sometimes as a young person, I was so driven by my gut instinct. I was, we're so fearless, aren't we, when we're young and ambitious.
Fearless and naive, and we have nothing to lose and we just want to win.
And you know what? It's kind of like, it's a beautiful mixture, isn't it? It can create incredible things. And, times that by 5, and 5 people who, although they're super different, have a very similar vision.
Totally.
It was like unstoppable. And I feel really grateful that I am one of the Spice Girls, because I think as a solo artist, it's given me that opportunity. And also, as an individual, I can be quite shy. I'm quite laid back. I'm quite a good girl. I often do as I'm told. And so without the other girls like kind of egging me on to be a bit more rebellious, then, maybe I never would have had a career in music at all.
Being pushed out of your comfort zone, being pushed to be your best version of yourself, and you're pushing each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you surprised that today, 25 years post Spice Girls that nobody has even come close to reaching the success and the bar that y'all set?
Oh, it's such a strange thing, isn't it? Because music continues to evolve, not only stylistically, but the way we listen to it, the way that it's made.
Yeah.
Celebrity culture is something so different to what it was in the 90s. And I think it would be kind of impossible to replicate what the Spice Girls did.
Totally.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, there are bands out there who are killing it and have had huge success. But I think just that mixture of, the timing of everything and that individuality and bringing people together and the message, whether it be girl power, people power, equality, fighting to be yourself, that it's hard to get all of those ingredients again.
Yeah, do you think those values are represented in music? Because in some cases, like K-pop and the groups that exist there, they take on missions. And a band like BTS create art that is very reflective of the reality that their audience experiences in a similar way to what the Spice Girls did. But in the same way of like, it's not forced. It was really just who they are. It is who they are. Is that the next generation of what that was to a certain degree?
I suppose in a way, I think like with everything, it's making me think about that collaborative experience in a studio, right? When you're writing a song and you look back to all of the artists you listen to, and I love to work with young people because they have very different influences. They can listen to some old music, some older artists that really inspire them, but they've got just a different view on everything. And I think that coming together creates something unique. And I think it's the same, with a band. You're right. The life is different. Yes. My daughter's 12 and she says, Mum, you don't understand what life is like for me. And it's like, I'll never understand what life is like for a 12-year-old in 2021. You know what I mean? It's like, is that what year we're in? I don't even know what year it is anymore. I'm so confused. But it's like, sure. I think, you take all of these things, don't you? And they influence you in a certain way, but then you get influenced by something else. And that's how we evolve and grow.
Can I ask, what influenced you guys when you were first coming together? Like when you guys first had the conversation, you were first put together, like who was influencing us?
Okay, so it was the 90s.
Yes.
We were kind of in a time music-wise where dance music was really breaking through into the mainstream, like the late 80s, the early 90s. We'd grown up, all of us, listening to our parents' music, like we all do. There was loads of Beatles influences. Personally, myself and Emma, we loved Motown. But then as we got into our teen years, myself and Jerry were huge Madonna fans. She obviously is so influential to all women my age. But there was a real mix. We loved TLC. Mm-hmm. They were kind of the girl band of the moment. We really looked up to them. And then I got to work with Left Eye Lopez on my first solo record, which was incredible. So, we had quite an eclectic mix of music that we all came, our backgrounds. We, some of us really love musical theatre, so there's a bit of theatrics within the Spice Girls as well. Jerry loves a bit of Shirley Bassey. So, it was a real mad mix. And I think that's what helped create the sound.
Was the studio packed with you guys every time? What was the creative process like? Because you guys have writing credit on all of the records pretty much, yes?
Yeah, that's true, actually. I think every single Spice Girls song, which is an original song, has all 5 Spice Girls writing credit, yeah.
You know how rare that is? Incredibly rare. Like, stupid rare. Like, to the point where groups today, you're lucky if there's 1 or 2 members that have credit.
Hey, you know what's like really interesting, because I do continue to make music and and I love like listening to artists and kind of looking at the credits, seeing who the writers are, seeing who the producers are, and it's amazing how the teams have grown.
You get 20 people on a record.
Yeah, it's nuts. But, we always say it doesn't matter how many people it takes to make that great record. You just want a great record. But what's funny with the Spice Girls, so there was us 5. And then we often worked with like production teams like Matt and Biff or Absolute. And it was us girls and other writers and producers in the room, but it was literally like a bit of a two-way street, really. I think it was the energy and enthusiasm of the Spice Girls, and then we learnt the craft from people who really knew what they were doing.
That's it. When do you feel like you really learned how to make music?
I don't know if you feel like you've ever really learned, Music, I can't even remember not being a part of my life. My mum's a singer. There was always people in the house rehearsing. I danced a lot as a kid, so, as long as as well as listening to artists like Madonna and like the Beatles and, Annie Lennox is another huge inspiration of mine, Dusty Springfield, lots of like great soulful female voices as well. I was listening to classical music, and musical theatre. So there was all these different inspirations going on. And so it was just my way of, it was my solace at times, to be in my teenage bedroom listening to music. And then when I found that love of performing, it was that way of expressing myself. And I think as well, being quite shy in some aspects, it's a way for me to be able to express myself and to feel safe and to feel strong.
And to share sides of yourself that you wouldn't naturally share in a conversation with a stranger. Mm-hmm. So when it's a group like the Spice Girls and it's a bunch of you and the group is made up of different shades, but it's all about, yes, the brightness of each individual color, each individual member, but it's when they come together, that's when it becomes really incredible. Mm-hmm. So what did you learn about yourself? I mean, after you do your first album, like, do you surprise yourself after you guys accomplish a first album after leaving a management company that literally put you all together?
Uh-huh. You know what? We were just unstoppable. I mean, we were so single-minded. It was like nobody could tell us we were not going to achieve these dreams. And what was really interesting is I think as an individual, you could let that self-doubt creep in.
Totally.
But because we had each other's backs, we just never allowed that to happen. We were like, yeah, we're going to be the biggest band in the world. We're going to make a movie. It's going to be really successful. We're going to tour the world. And it was really fun. And I think we laugh at ourselves. Even now, I think when we did the shows in 2019, we did these stadium shows in the UK and Ireland. And it was a really great moment personally for me because I'm like the serious one. I'm like the one who's like cracking the whip going, come on, we need to rehearse more. We need to be better. And at the end of the day, the beauty of the Spice Girls is kind of how rubbish we are at times. There's a real kind of, we used to say like our costumes feel a little bit homemade, or like Jerry does the wrong dance step or someone sings out of tune and we celebrate our mistakes. And I think again that's so appealing to not be perfect because none of us are perfect. So I really made peace with that in 2019 and I think that's what I learned is like by nature I'm a perfectionist. I'm a failed perfectionist. But you know what? There's so much beauty in the imperfection. You have to celebrate that.
That's, spot on. Like being a perfectionist keeps you striving to do better, right? And to always improve. But understanding that there's beauty in the mistakes and there's relatability in an off-key performance or a misstep. Like that's what makes you feel obtainable. Perfection is scary.
Where the humor lies as well. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. We laugh at each other. We laugh at ourselves. And we share that. It's part of the connection. It's a very important part of a Spice Girl being on stage. That connection with the audience is us all having a little laugh at Jerry going wrong.
Is it still just as exciting to perform these songs today as it was, 20 years ago?
Do you know what? It's actually better.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, because I think, you're in that crazy moment. The 90s for us, it was a whirlwind. You're so busy, you're so exhausted, the adrenaline's pumping 24/7. And as much as we enjoyed it and it was super exciting, you're a little bit out of your own body. It's hard to really be grounded and to take it all in. So when you have the chance to go back, we've had this conversation a couple of times. We did a performance at the Olympics at the closing ceremony in London 2012. And that was the first time we'd come together for a good few years. The first time we'd had social media, like Twitter was huge at that point, and we were able to see the world waiting for us. And it gave us that moment to just kind of laugh at what we had accomplished, how ridiculous that us 5 girls, who were a bit ramshackle, had managed to pull this thing off, right? And we're still fooling them. But also in that moment, we were like, you know what, we did this like 4-minute medley. We're like, it's going to be over like that. So we need to take in every second, look out, the sights, the smells, look at each other. So we did exactly that. And I think from that moment on, I've continued to do that. In all the big things I do in my work, I just take it on board and take it in. Because I think as a young person, it can just pass you by.
Totally, because you're so focused on getting to the next thing. Yeah. But I get goosebumps because social media gave you a new lens on the impact that you've had on culture as a whole, and bigger than just a country, but around the world.
Yeah.
And a new lease on I'm sure you made sacrifices to accomplish what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
So do you feel better? Do you feel more secure? Do you feel like more fulfilled seeing that from a new lens?
It's been a journey. You know, this whole thing has had its ups and downs, because I think anybody who's lucky enough to be in a band that has a big impact on the world, it's like, it's an incredible thing. But when I think a lot of these bands have quite a short lifespan, because it's so hectic and you're in survival mode, and you can only continue in that mode for so long, right? So when that kind of stops or starts to slow down, you need to get away from it. You know, I think especially people in bands, you need to go off and think, who am I? Mm-hmm. You know, it's been your identity for such a long time. So I've had that moment and I've come through the other side, and now I can really, really appreciate and embrace everything that the Spice Girls has been in my life.
I guess what it's done to other people.
Yeah. That's that
insane.
that blows my mind. 2019, being on stage was my last experience. You know, before the pandemic, we had this moment to be Spice Girls again. And to see the audience, and, you know, I go to loads of gigs, and of course it's our gig, so it feels so special. But the atmosphere was like nothing else. And we played these shows in Manchester. We were playing like big soccer stadiums. And one particular night, and I mean, you know, when you're on stage, you know what it's like. When you're performing, there's so much going on. You know, it's this crazy experience. I literally saw like crackles of electricity. Like wherever my mind and body was at that time, it was so atmospheric. I could see it. You know, I mean, that's how crazy it is.
Is that something you chase to accomplish again?
You know, I think I've done this for so long that I'm so accepting of what will be, will be. Because you can have two shows and they're exactly the same and you've got a great audience, but you can feel so different inside. You know, it's such a performer is such an interesting life, because nothing's ever the same, you know. But I think those shows, for everybody, it just felt like a magical time. And who knew what was around the corner? You know, we had this freedom. We had fans from the 90s, and we had people, it felt like bringing their kids, their grandkids, their mums, that, you know, it
generational.
It was so incredible.
Do you think the Spice Girls are bigger than any one member?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I mean, have I said that right? The Spice Girls is like, it's its own entity.
Yeah.
You know, it's wonderful to be part of that, but I don't kind of, you know, walk around going, hey, you know, that's my gig. I did that. You know, it's like, I'm a part of that and I feel so lucky. But the thing is also, it is inclusive. You know, there is the Spice Girls, the thing, right? The entity. There's the 5 Spice Girls, but then there's all the fans. And it's without any of those parts, you haven't got the bigger picture, you know?
Totally. It's more. It's a bigger energy. It's more of a way of life.
Yeah.
It's a cultural practice. So, but is it hard? Is it a hard pill to swallow, knowing that, like, if you chose not to take part in a reunion, or even talking to us right now about the 25th anniversary greatest hits double CDs, it's a whole thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Link in the description below. It'll take you right back to the 90s. You'll get a bunch of postcards and the whole kit and caboodle. But is it a hard pill to swallow, knowing that, like, the show will go on if you chose to not show up?
What you mean if I decided to, if a reunion happened and like Sporty was like, you know what, girls, I'm not feeling it.
Bye.
I'm a bit busy. I'm a bit busy right now.
You got other things.
How can you be too busy to do a Spice Girls reunion?
I mean, we can have that conversation with somebody else in the group, right?
Yeah, right? Do you know what? It's an interesting topic of conversation, because for many years, I didn't want to get back on stage with the girls, because I knew Victoria, Posh Spice, didn't want to get back on stage, you know, and she has her reasons and we completely respect that. And I was like, it's 5 or nothing. And then I just had a bit of a change of heart. You know, we had an offer to do this one particular show, and us girls started talking, and we're just in a really good place. You know, we're all mums. We've got more love and respect for each other now than we ever have had. And we were just a bit like, it'd be fun, wouldn't it? You know, let's just do a few shows. Let's just see how it goes. And I just had a complete change of heart. And, you know, we had Victoria's blessing. She's totally with us behind the scenes. She has to approve everything. We want her to love everything as much as we do when we're going out there. Exactly. And we hope that she'll be back on stage at some point.
Is that the dream?
That's the dream. That's the plan.
Do you know what it will take to make that a reality?
Oh, well, we work on her. Like, there's lots of emotional blackmail. No, not really. I think the thing is, the shows in 2019 were so incredible. The creative was beyond the best thing we've ever done. I think the reaction was so great. We have the rest of the world to tour. We didn't get out of the UK and Ireland. And it's a big old world out there. Yeah. And lots of territories the Spice Girls didn't even get to the first time round. We've been lucky enough to be here in the US. We've never got to South America, Australia, Southeast Asia, which is insane, right? Yeah. So many places to go. So hopefully that will happen. And I like to think what she saw and what she missed, because she did feel like she missed out. I'm hoping that will bring her back.
That gives me goosebumps. But the fact that you can even have this conversation, because it really is a sisterhood. It's family, and you wouldn't move forward without her. I mean...
Yeah, totally. I mean, even... if we do the shows, which we intend to do, we want to do more reunion shows when we can. When things are safe and everything's a lot more certain in the world, we want to get out there and do more. And if she decides she doesn't want to join us on stage, then you're right. She's with us. She's 100% with us. Creatively, she's there. We run everything by her. And, and hopefully she'll be maybe in the wings. I mean, she wouldn't be on the wings because she knows she'd get dragged on, right?
I heard rumor that she showed up, though. Is that true? Is that bull squash? She didn't.
She didn't. And I think it was hard.
Yeah.
She made the decision for her own reasons. But I think it was too difficult for her to go and to watch and be in the audience.
You have your 8th studio album. It's a solo project. Link in the description below. I want to dive into the music you're creating now, but also how you even got into the solo world, because again, like the two eras of like Spice Girls and your solo stuff, I mean, they were like almost merged.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that there was confidence and comfortability amongst the 5 of you to go and explore things individually?
Yeah, it's something we talked about. I think we were on tour in 98, and both Melanie and Victoria were pregnant. So we knew at some point there would be a natural break and things, they needed a little bit of time. And we intended to continue. Jerry had left, of course. She left, earlier in that tour, I think maybe the spring of 98. And we just started talking about other opportunities. And, and there were lots of reasons why, but I really felt like I wanted to have this opportunity to express myself as an individual. And the great thing about being in a band like the Spice Girls is that when you go off and do some solo projects, you can work with the most amazing people in the world, you know, like
Left Eye,
Brian
Adams, Casual,
Rick Rubin, Rick Knowles. The list is endless. I got to work Marius DeVries.
And learn.
The most incredible people I worked with. And it was, another part of me, which maybe isn't a positive thing, but I'd been on this treadmill going so quickly, it was hard to stop. And I think I was afraid to stop. So we came off the road, and I just went straight into the studio and started work on my first solo record. And, with hindsight, maybe I should have taken a little bit more time to chill and recover, but I couldn't at that time. And you know what? We can't have any regrets, can we? Because it's such an incredible album. It's something I'm very, very proud of. And it opened a lot of doors for me.
We're talking about Northern Star, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brings on great collaborations, opens a bunch of new opportunities. You get chart success. Yeah, a bunch of stuff comes from that. Yeah. Then obviously the Spice Girls eventually come back.
Yeah.
So have you thought today about ever creating new music as the Spice Girls? Like, we see icons do it every day. Elton John releases stuff.
Yeah.
ABBA just came back. Mm-hmm. Is this a conversation that happens?
Yeah, we do talk about it, and we're a little bit fearful, and I think it's because...
Rightfully so.
Yeah, the back catalogue is so strong and so nostalgic and important to people.
And culture and pop music as a whole.
Oh my gosh, it's like, what if you come back and the music just isn't good enough? So that's our fear. And we always say, if something happens organically, if we feel like this is the right time, or this is the right collaboration, or whatever it could be, we will do it. But we don't want to force it. I think that's what the fear is.
That's organic.
Are there any songs from the 90s, though, that you guys still have sitting there that you could go back and maybe tweak that have your voices on them, the production on it's all from the 90s.
You know, what's interesting is we'll be talking about the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's so many formats. I mean, it's crazy. There's cassettes. I mean, it's so funny. This just reminds me of a funny story. So my daughter was talking about the big DVDs. And I was like, what's a big DVD? And she actually meant a video
VHS.
cassette.
Oh,
You know the big DVDs? So all of these formats, and some of the formats have this wonderful, it's like the CD, I think it's a double CD. And the second one has on some demos, some unreleased tracks, some like remixes, and there's some really fun stuff in the studio of us just like messing about. You know, like when I heard it back, because we really wanted to delve into the archives, because you know it's like with artists who've been around for a long time and the label want to repackage things and celebrate an anniversary and get it back out there, you know, remaster it. It sounds great, but we were like, you know what, we want it to be more. The fans are so amazing. We just don't want to rehash things, right? So we went into the studio, and Biff, who's like one of our songwriters, like Wannabe, To Become One, loads of the biggie, Spice Up Your Life, and we had loads of fun just listening to all this old stuff. You know, the first 2 Spice records were recorded on tape. You know, it was such a different
like reel
time.
to reel or what?
Yeah. It's such a different time. You know, everything's changed.
Are you nervous to sit in the studio and get everybody back together and go relive what was?
Do you know what? I think because we've been able to like get on stage and do it, I think being in the studio would be fun. I think there would have been times maybe over the years where I'd be like, I don't think I can do it. But right now, I think it will be a good time.
It was the right space to go back and listen to old stuff.
Yeah, totally.
See you next Tuesday. You've brought this up now, I believe, in 2 other places. This is a Spice Girls record that exists somewhere. Let's just talk about the forward nature of See You Next Tuesday. Please, understand something. I was maybe like 5 years ago that I learned what See You Next Tuesday even meant. Were people saying this in the 90s, late 90s?
Yeah, it's a British thing, right? It is in the English language, it is the most offensive word that can be used.
Yeah.
So, of course, being the Spice Girls, we want to be as naughty as we possibly can. And what really makes me chuckle about the Spice Girls is, you know, we did get a little bit of flack from certain areas of the media because we wore crop tops, or, you know, we sang about certain things. And I just look at artists today, you know, we said, talk about paving the way, right? I mean, it was so innocent. Maybe not this song so much. But it was just us being naughty and fun in the studio. And it was vetoed for this album. But I believe there is a place for it in the world because it's brilliant. It's so brilliant. It actually sounds like Lily Allen.
Where's that place?
We have to find it, right? Let's discover. Let's find that place.
How many songs like that exist that are done but have never seen the light of day?
Well, right now we've been concentrating on Spice. So I think most of the things in the vault for Spice are out there.
Got it.
On the 25th anniversary. But of course, next year is the 25th anniversary of Spice World. So the whole process starts all over again.
Is that the plan right now?
Yeah, it's exciting to look forward. I think Spice, there's a beauty with Spice because it's the debut record, So we were in the studio and we were experimenting. We were doing anything and everything. I mean, like Wannabe was a huge experiment. It was these incredible songwriters going, girls, just do whatever you want. Do what you feel, and it was just this ridiculous song. We thought, are we ever going to release this? And thank God we did because, it launched us onto the world. But then Spice World, of course, we'd been on the promotional tours all over the world. We were making the movie. So, we'd learned songcraft a little bit more. So there mightn't be as much kind of raucous behaviour delving into the Spice World archives.
It's interesting. Like, you really learn how to craft a quality song between album 1 and album 2. So are you more confident when you go into the studio compared to the first time around?
You know what? I don't think so. I think, like we were talking about earlier, that naivety of youth, and that confidence.
So powerful.
Yeah, just going and doing your thing. And I think, obviously, it was so successful and you think, oh, can we do that again? We had all of these new experiences, but, does lightning strike twice?
And everybody's afraid of the sophomore slump.
Oh, my gosh, that difficult second album.
Yeah.
Ouch.
You don't know what it's like, so, okay.
Was Spice Up Your Life the first song you guys wrote for the album?
Do you know what? I think it was. I think it was, if it wasn't the first, it was one of the first. Yeah. By then we were quite big time, and we were like in these fancy studios in London, and we had some sessions in Abbey Road, which was amazing. Cool. It was so cool to get in there. But yeah, I remember being around the piano. I mean, doing piano vocal of Spice Up Your Life. I mean, would you ever? And we just used to do the dance routines at the same time. And I think there's a bit of footage somewhere of that as well. So yeah.
When you're crafting that song, you started on a piano?
Yeah.
And you're dancing while you're playing on the piano?
Yeah.
And that's how...
So we were working with Matt Rowe and Biff, Richard Stannard, who the guys we wrote Wannabe with, and, you know, a lot of the really big Spice anthems with those guys.
So they get you and you feel comfortable with them to really do whatever.
Yeah. And we were talking about just going around the world, experiencing all these different things, and how it was incredible that, you know, Wannabe was the song that kind of, it just spoke to so many different countries and cultures. And we wanted to talk about that beauty because we'd always wanted to travel. We wanted to be an international band, and that had happened. So we wanted to celebrate that. And that's how Spice Up Your Life was born.
I just, the thought of like that starting as an acoustic record,
Right.
which, you know, we talked to the coolest producers and artists like of today's generation and past generation. And the through line is that all of the greatest songs ever start as acoustic songs. And if they hit acoustically, then as long as you don't overproduce it, great things will happen.
100%. I mean, you know, obviously there's so much great music out there. And yeah, I'm a big lover of dance music. And there's some dance music where, you know, it's just a repetitive vocal, but, you know, that hits the spot for me. That does what it needs to do. But when you're talking about a crafted pop song, it has to work on piano. It has to work on guitar.
Because it's emotion.
Yeah.
And the lyrics tell a story.
Most recent album is a lot of electronic and dance music.
Yeah.
Did that all start on the piano as well?
You know, let me have a think, actually. Some did, some didn't. I've seen how, I really enjoy watching how people work differently, and I like kind of experiencing that and seeing what that brings out of me. So a lot of younger writers and producers I find start with a beat. But often, you know what? Often it is just chords, you know? But the interesting thing is, I have to be able to play it acoustically because it's a big part of what I do as a performer. You know, I love working acoustically. I've released a lot of the tracks off this album, my last album, acoustically. So that is important, that it works in that way.
For you to make music now, this is your 8th album. Melanie C, by the way, is the name of the album. Link in the description below. Are you amazed that music still gets to be what pays the bills, and you still have this opportunity and this avenue to express yourself?
It hasn't always paid the bills. But you know what? It's my absolute passion. And you know what? I don't really want to do anything else. I mean, I do other things because we've got to pay the bills, right? So I have loved doing theatre, and I've done some TV stuff and radio stuff. But for me, like the ultimate is being on stage. So in order to do that, I want to keep creating and making music that enthuses me to get out there. You know, I want to stay interested. I want my fans to stay interested. So yeah, there'll always be music, you know, no matter where you are, you know, because I've had this incredible career, and like all artists, you know, you have your peaks and troughs. But it's a good time. Melanie C, the album, sounds weird saying my name, but my self-titled album was received really well. You know, it charted great in the UK, probably my best release in over a decade. So it's really nice to know you can get in there, make some great new music, and people appreciate it.
I wanted to ask, why 8 albums in did you decide to go with a self-titled album?
That is a good question, and it's a question I ask myself. You know what? You only get one chance to do it, don't you?
You're right.
And so it's a big decision, and I haven't really felt like it's been the right time until this album. And I think some of that is to do with being back on stage with the girls in 2019. And a lot of what the album is inspired by is self-acceptance and really accepting all aspects of yourself, which I was able to do being SportySpice again. I was like, I don't become SportySpice. I am her. She's within me, you know. And there's been time in my life when I've wanted to not be SportySpice. So it was just really nice to go, do you know what? I am always that person, and I'm a solo artist, and I'm a mum, and I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm all of these things. So that inspired me to just feel like this album was my true self.
It's interesting, like having that realization that you could be more than one thing.
Yeah.
You are not what society has cast you as. But it's hard when everybody around you is yelling SportySpice. And by the way, it's a name that you didn't choose. It's a nickname that was essentially given to you and then adopted by probably 1 billion plus people.
Yeah, but you made sportswear cool before sportswear was cool.
I know, right? I mean, I've just delved into my old wardrobe here because it's just fine. I can wear 90s clothes again.
For real.
Was there a defining moment where you realized that I don't want to be SportySpice, or you have to rework your relationship with what this other part of you is?
100%. For me, I think the most difficult time for me was when I went out there and had that experience as a solo artist. I realized that it was just so fulfilling. I love being a Spice Girl, but I've been doing that for a few years and it was hard. It was incredible, but aspects of that and the pressure of that is really, really difficult. So to be your own boss and do things the way you want to do without compromise was so appealing to me. And I think I had been confused about what the media had portrayed me as. I think especially in the UK, we have a very critical tabloid media. And, in the 90s...
That's being really nice about it, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I still have to keep them on side. No, I'm only joking. So, yeah, they were brutal. They said the meanest things. I mean, when you look back over articles from the 90s, it's shocking. The language that was used, because obviously times have changed, but they were so cruel at times. And there was this image built of me. And I think as a young person, I was so confused because I'm like, who am I? Am I who I think I am or who they think I am or who they think I should be? And there was just so many questions and I felt I was so angry. I wanted everybody, I cut my hair off, didn't I? My first solo single was a track called Going Down, which was a bit rocky. And, I chopped all my hair off. I went all punky. And I think I was just like rebelling from everything that people thought of me. I was like, there's more to me than being SportySpice. And that was exhausting, and that was challenging. But all these years later, I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, it's all good.
But that's like such a healthy realization that really only comes with time.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine this concept of you're also at an age where you're still figuring out who you are as a human being. So to be told 1,000 different things from every different direction.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think it's really tough for young artists now. The thing I feel for young artists with social media being such a big part of our lives now, because I always struggled with that kind of, where does your private life end and your public life begin? And I think with social media, especially when you're young and your label, your management, the people behind you are really encouraging you to do all of these things because it's good. You need engagement, you need followers, you need likes, you need all of these things. And it's like, I just think when you're quite young to be making those decisions, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? It's hard.
Once it's out there, it's out there.
So you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that the Spice Girls didn't have social media at the height of the Spice Girls?
I'm grateful we didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
Yeah. And I'm really grateful that we didn't have mobile phones with cameras on.
Could have got yourselves in trouble, huh?
Yeah, would you guys have been bigger with it, or would it have actually held you back?
That's a good question. That's a good question. It was such a different time. I like to think we would have been as big, but who knows?
Or maybe it could have been more of a fad, because the truth is things on the internet come and they go so quickly.
I mean, everything now is so disposable.
Yeah, because you can get everything so instantly, so you want for no more information because it's instantly at your fingertips.
And when the Spice Girls came out, nobody had the internet. We released our album in Japan before the rest of the world.
Wow.
And we went over there because you could strategically plan and do your promo everywhere to get the best out of each territory. Now you can't. It's got it everywhere at once.
Well, as someone with a lot of experience in girl group, obviously, what do you think when you see the Jessie Nelson Little Mix thing or the Camila Fifth Harmony thing? Obviously, you kind of know what's going on behind the scenes. How do you feel when you see these stories?
Well, I suppose it's a bit of a trigger for me as well. I remember looking back with the One Direction boys and when Zayn left, and I felt, I even feel emotional thinking about it because I know what a pressure cooker it can be, being in those hugely successful bands. And then when somebody branches out, because obviously Jerry left early from the Spice Girls, and she had her reasons, and she had to do what she did. And it was a really difficult time for us, the four of us, but it was also a very difficult time for her. So I think about Jessie, and I think about the other girls, you know, in Little Mix. And yeah, I just feel like you're right. I have this kind of like inside scoop on it. Not that I know what's going on personally for those guys.
It's different, but the same.
I can imagine, the heartache.
Is a part of you like disappointed that another group hasn't come close to the bar you've set? Or honestly,
Hey, that's the most ridiculous question you've ever asked anyone. You never want anyone to name you, right?
But it's crazy though, because so many have come and none have really lasted. Mm-hmm. And obviously culture's different, the world is different. That's been the through line to this conversation. But at the same time, like One Direction from a imperfectly perfect standpoint really checked off some Spice Girls boxes.
They were falling all over the stage, messing up. Like, it was
no
great.
dance moves. They all wore different outfits. And then time shifts.
Yeah.
And people go back to this perfection and like, you got to look great. You have to have matching aesthetics. You have to have all these things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's really incredibly impressive that nobody has really even come close.
Yeah. And again, you know what? I think it's like a really lucky accident for us girls, you know, just everything came together. And I think because of the time and because of the message that we were compelled to have. And yeah, it was cultural as well as music.
Totally.
You know, it was like you say, it's a way of life.
It really is. You know, we had a band in here the other day. They're a group called Why Don't We? And they're a boy group. They were formed together by a management company, and they came here and they detailed a bunch of insane abuses that they experienced as a group. I mean, being trapped in a house and there's a lock on the refrigerator and they have to ask permission for water and essentially being forced eating disorders upon them. Crazy stuff. In a way, similar to someone like Lou Pearlman as you look back in music history. Is that, like, that's sad, number one. But number two, like, how were you able to insulate and kind of fight a label or fight a management company when you guys were doing this? Was there power in numbers? Like, were your parents around?
You know what? Yeah, our families were really, really everywhere. Everywhere we went, we had not everywhere, but when we were on tour, our parents were with us a lot. You know, when we went out, when we did big things, the movie premieres, all the big fun stuff, we wanted our families close by. But, you know, I mean, that's happening today.
Today, within the last few years.
That I am so shocked.
But by the way, in on a quest to achieve even 0.5% of what the Spice Girls have achieved, they're willing to sacrifice people's mental well-being.
You know, I think, oh gosh, so much of it is to do with who's looking after you.
Yeah.
You know, and we got lucky. And nobody's perfect. And we were kind of muddling through. You know, we didn't really know what we were doing. And our manager, who, you know, Simon Fuller, who was the manager that took us on to this huge success, you know, he had experience. You know, Annie Lennox is one of his artists and still is to this day. So obviously he has incredible experience. But to have a band like the Spice Girls, he'd never done anything like that before. So it wasn't always perfect. But I think because the five of us together were so strong and we kind of self-policed, so we were so tight that anybody on the exterior had no chance. You know,
That's amazing.
They couldn't penetrate. You know, it was us five against the world. And we just really looked out for each other, supported each other. You know, sometimes we put maybe a little bit too much pressure on each other. But we were never in a situation like that. And I think, and that disgusts me. And I feel like getting on my high horse now, because something that has upset me for a long time is young artists being taken care of in many aspects, but primarily their mental health. You know, it's going out there doing what artists do. If you're successful and you have this incredible life change, everybody treats you differently. You know, not only you, but everybody around you, your family get treated differently. And I just have never felt like there's been enough support from labels and from management. Sure. But, you know, and it depends who it is, you know, because obviously there are people out there with much more empathy and caring souls, but there are obviously people out there who want to make money.
Yeah, and they don't care.
You're a commodity, you know? And what drives me crazy is that if you look after your artist, it's going to be better for everyone in the long run. You know, you're going to have a longer career. You're going to, you know, everyone's going to be happy and healthy. But people just are so short-sighted because, like you say, things move so quickly.
That's it. And they want to strike now. And everybody thinks there's a formula that you can just duplicate and shove these square pegs into round holes.
And the bandwagoning constantly.
Yes.
Oh, that's successful, so let's all copy that. And it's like, you know, what was, you know, of course we had our influences, but there was nothing like the Spice Girls before the Spice Girls, right? So you've got to just be who you are. And artists need to be supported because they're so vulnerable. So many artists, creative people are so vulnerable.
And if they're not supported, they're never going to be able to produce any
Fulfill
sort of
their
results.
potential,
Exactly.
you know, which benefits
Everybody.
everyone.
A rising tide floats all boats. You know, everybody in these situations really do work together for each other. So by keeping the primary creative happy and safe and healthy makes everybody's life a lot easier. Please listen to Melanie C's album, Mel C, but Melanie C is the name of the album, first self-titled in all 8 albums. It's a big deal. Link in the description below. It is there for you. Question, say you'll be there. Is there a harmonica in that? What is that towards the end of it? That is a harmonica.
Yeah, it's harmonica.
I had no idea.
Oh, gosh, you got to have a harmonica solo, right?
No. I mean, what? That's the last time I heard a harmonica solo on a pop record.
Do you know, I think the reason why, especially me and Emma, loved that so much is because we're huge Stevie Wonder fans.
Oh,
cool.
And of course, you know,
Gosh.
there's no one better.
I thought to myself, like, maybe it's like a guitar or something, but no, it's a real
It's a
harmonica.
real life harmonica.
Did you tour with that, or was it track only?
No, we didn't. That's a shame, isn't it?
God, that would have given, I mean...
Because loads of musicians can play harmonicas, right? Why didn't just like the keyboard player whip out the harmonica?
Exactly.
Why didn't I learn it?
Wait,
What?
see?
You still can.
A new challenge that you could have taken on. There's still time. But the truth is, like, yeah, I do wonder if there's, like, only one, like, harmonica people, like... Do they just play the harmonica? Do they not play anything else? Like, can they really make a living just playing the harmonica?
I have found that a lot of musicians also play the harmonica, but I bet the best, the creme de la creme, are harmonica only. They're purists.
Wow.
You mentioned your daughter once or twice. Does she think it's cool that her mom's a Spice Girl, or does that mean nothing to her?
Oh gosh, she thinks it's cool when she gets to, like, be part of something huge, like the Spice Girls tour. You know, I was cool for a few weeks when we were on tour, right? And then I just went back to being the embarrassing mother. It's hard for her because she's at that age now where, yeah, she's making her place in the world. You know, she's coming into her teenage years, and I think it's kind of a blessing and a curse to have a famous parent,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But she's pretty headstrong. She's cool. She'll be fine. But yeah, she likes me being a Spice Girl when it suits her.
When she can benefit from it.
Exactly.
But it is an energy that's always around, and I think the only way to really, like, deal with it is by parking it somewhere and separating the two, you know?
Yeah, but you know what? I think she is proud. I think deep down she is super proud.
I mean, it's the Spice Girls.
You know, I do have to say, what I thought was the craziest thing ever when Billie Eilish thought that the Spice Girls were a fake band just for the movie.
I know, I love
how
that.
How crazy was that?
I love those things. It's funny, isn't it, when you look back to your childhood and the things you were so certain were true, and then you find out they weren't. But yeah, that was really fun. I've been lucky enough to meet Billie a couple of times, and I mean, what an artist!
Yeah.
She's so incredible, right? So to even hear, because she's so young, really too young to know the Spice Girls. So yeah, it's lovely to hear that
It's
her and
crazy
Phineas
that-
used to watch it.
Like, people are still discovering you guys. You know what I mean? That's
know.
also kind of crazy.
It is. It really is. It's like, it feels like there's an age where it's on the radar,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, young kids are finding it all the time.
But at the same time, Wannabe is like one of those songs where you may not know, you just know the lyrics. It's like you're born knowing the lyrics to Wannabe, right? It's like,
love that.
it's just one of those songs.
There are so many songs like that. And do you know what? No one's ever said that, but I feel immensely proud if
Yeah.
Wannabe is one of those. Yeah.
By the way, your movie, which was the coolest thing ever, and again, another trailblazing thing that, like, goes on to show other artists that they can also make a movie.
Yeah.
$100 million. It made real quick. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I mean, like, what? Do you consider yourself like an actress after that, or is it really like you're just playing yourself?
Oh, you know what? I mean, I've just always loved being on stage, and I don't know if that was my best acting debut. I've done some theatre as well, so I do enjoy acting. But I'm kind of like, I like to stay in my comfort zone. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's so hard, right? I started DJing about 3 years ago, And it's something I've always wanted to do, but I never had the courage to do it. And I had a few lessons and I was like, you know what? I love this. I totally want to go out and I want to do this. But as a Spice Girl, you can't just like do some like sneaky little clubs and work your way up. You know, like your first gig, all eyes are on you. So it is quite scary taking on new challenges.
So were you scratching?
No. No, I'm not scratching. I'm mixing. I'm a novice. I'm 3 years in, so I'm still learning all the technicalities. But I absolutely love it.
Is your hope to take that into a production lane or what?
Do you know what? I'd love to do remixes. That's kind of next
sick.
on my list. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Gosh, new challenges.
Yeah, you got to keep them coming, right?
That's what makes life interesting.
Yeah.
It gets boring if not. Like, what's boring?
Well, have any streaming services approached you guys about a second Spice World movie?
That's a good question. I think it's been talked about. I think it's been written about, but so many things are written about. You know, personally for me, I feel like it's a really good time to explore a biopic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that would be great. I mean, especially, you know, after seeing Queen's one and Elton John. I mean, Rocket Man was amazing. And I just thought, wow, I really feel like the Spice Girls story and music would really work in that genre.
That's cool.
Who would you want to play you? Or would you want to play yourself?
I don't want to see this face on a big screen. Not anymore. Yeah, I don't know. Someone once said Daisy Ridley to me.
Okay.
They thought she'd be a good sporty.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe we should have like an open call and lots of people can come and be a Spice Girl.
Leave suggestions in the comment section below, please. Melanie sees the album, please. Link in the description below as well. And you're going to be going on a European tour starting January 2022.
Yes, I am.
Exciting.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So my record was released in November 2020. And of course, I would have been out on the road not long after that. Of course, the world being the way it is, it's been postponed and moved to the beginning of next year. So I'm just like itching. You know, when you got new music, you just want to get out there and play it to people.
And it's been too long.
So yeah, we did a live stream actually. We did the Colour and Light stream, and that was on the launch of the album, which was fun. But I think, you know, being an artist is used to having people in front of you, like just speaking to a camera. I felt a bit of an idiot. It was tough.
It's different.
Yeah, it's a different vibe. So I'm looking forward to seeing real people. So yeah, UK and Europe, Jan, Feb. And then I just want to do loads of live stuff next year. Once we can get back out there, you know, gigs are happening again now. And I think like all performance, I've just missed it so much.
Dancing with the Stars, did you like it?
Bits of it. It was
It's hard, right?
hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm SportySpice. You know, I'm fit, right? But that is intense. Yeah. I have so much respect for people who do it. I have dancing experience. There's people on that show who've never danced, and they get out there week after week and they do these really technical, difficult dances. And I'm like, whoa, it was hard. Yeah. I was like, can I just sing?
It stresses me out thinking about it because the day's really long, right? It's like
so
a 15-hour day.
It's so stressful, and 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So I danced. So I was working on the show. I think I was there for about 7 weeks, and I danced every single day. And then you've got your interviews and your camera blocking and your costume fittings and all of these different things. And then you've got your show day and and the adrenaline, and it's a marathon.
And then a lot of times you're like juggling your day job too while you're doing the dance rehearsals.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I got a few weeks in before I did anything else, because I'm like, I don't know how you guys are doing it. It's nuts.
Like I'm like my palms are sweaty thinking about it. Like that's just too much for me. Like it's really early, like 6 a.m. It's like rehearsing and all that shit.
On a show day, I think some of my call times were like maybe 7, but then you're there till like 9 o'clock at night.
But then you have to rehearse because if you don't rehearse enough, then you f it up and then you look like a moron.
Oh,
but then
man.
the only way you keep your position on the show is by crying into the camera, right?
I have never cried so much in my life.
See?
It's like the floodgates. It was like, yeah.
You got it.
And I don't know why. It's
you look
so
into the lens?
emotional.
Give it to America?
It was so funny, right? They interviewed my mum one week. Like they did a Zoom interview back to the UK, and she was up on the screen, and Tara said, "Oh, do you have a message for your mum?" And of course, I really miss my mum. You know, I've not seen her for months. And so I started to get a little bit emotional. My dancer said to me, "Yeah, cry. It's okay to cry." I don't want to cry. I've cried enough in rehearsals. I don't want to cry on live television.
No, you need to. That's the trick.
That's where I went wrong.
Yeah, and maybe. I'm gonna be very honest right now. I very like over the last couple of years I've watched friends do it, and I've thought like, oh, maybe I'll throw my hat in this ring and try it out. Like at least vie for a spot there. I've studied how people win. Okay? It's tapping into the community you have at your disposal, no matter how big or small. And 2, it's looking straight into that lens and you crying. If you do not cry,
make people feel bad.
No
for
offense.
You?
Yes. You have to cry. You have to.
Do you know what? I wish I'd met you before going on the show.
I wish you met me too.
Never mind.
God, it's okay. Next time. Don't go back. It's too hard. Melanie C., that is the album. Please listen. Link in the description below. Final thoughts?
Yes. One last question.
Yes.
Do you guys, as the Spice Girls, want to do a big festival one day?
Yes, we do. We would love to do Glastonbury, which is the biggest festival in the UK, and Coachella.
Yeah, I was going
The two I was
to
thinking of.
Right? Yeah, I'd love that. We'd all love that.
Let's manifest that.
Let's manifest that. And I'm seeing 5 people on stage.
Oh,
So am I.
I am seeing, the full thing. Yeah, this is happening.
I'm feeling
If
it.
the Spice Girls want to do Glastonbury or Coachella, who's saying no, though? Like, other than maybe Victoria, she doesn't want to do it, but, like, who's saying no? I'm sure they would love you guys. You guys would love to be there.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I think even Victoria might be on board with those bad boys. But, yeah, it's like, let's make this happen,
What are we
right?
waiting for?
Yeah, what are we waiting for?
Mr. Coachella, hello. Pick up the phone. Thank you. Mel C., SportySpice, Melanie Chisholm.
Hey.
Is that
Lots of
weird to
names.
hear that?
It does feel weird because that's like at home me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, that's me in trouble at school me.
I appreciate you taking the time and hanging out with us today.
I have had a blast. Thank you so much. It's lovely to meet you.
I mean, literally any time. And my dream is to have all of you girls one day in our studio or in front of my face in any shape or form.
Well, when we're playing Coachella, we'll pop in.
Yes.
Sick.
Or,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll rent a giant house right next to the entrance and you can come over. We'll have a
Sounds good.
broadcast space
Sounds good.
because it will be historic. Please listen to the album, Melanie C. Listen. Link in the description below. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woo-hoo!
Hey, beautiful human, thanks for watching our full interview, but I get it. Like, a full interview is a lot. So we got a clips channel. We don't expect you to watch the full thing anymore, so we just gave you the highlights. Please subscribe and notifications and all that stuff. Okay, cool. I love you.